Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In these first few videos, we're going to be talking about the power of your thought life and how it affects you. But before we even get started, at any time during the video, if you kind of like this content, I'm going to ask you to give me a like, hit the thumbs up, and then even subscribe to the channel. All right? Let's talk about your thought life.
Young, one time, here we go, here the facts.
I want to talk to you for a few moments about your thoughts. Because everything we do, everything we are begins with a thought. Now, most of the time, we don't have a choice concerning the thoughts that come to us, the thoughts that come into our mind based on what we see, what we hear. They come into our brains so quickly that there's just no stopping them. But we certainly have the ability to choose what we ponder on. Those things that we decide to meditate on. We choose those. And a lot of people take their thought lives for granted. They don't think anything of dwelling on some bad thought or entertaining some dark fantasy, as if it doesn't really affect you. But the problem with this is that our thoughts are powerful. They lay the foundation for what comes next. And too often, we don't see the damage until it's already too late. I remember on our honeymoon, my new wife and I decided to take a short cruise and enjoy the Caribbean, right? And during the cruise, we're standing at the back of the boat and we're looking over into the water. And I noticed how much the little rudder, the boat's rudder, was disturbing the water, and all that. I was just mesmerized kind of by that. Now, don't judge me for this, but suddenly this thought came to me. But I didn't ask for it. I didn't do anything to bring it on. It wasn't some premeditated thought. We didn't have an argument right before this thought. It just came. And I thought, if I were to bump into my wife and she fell into the water, no one would ever notice. No one would even know. These people didn't know us. They wouldn't even know she was gone. Some people might say, hey, what happened to that lady that was with you? Wasn't that your new wife? What happened to Deetra? I said, I don't know. She was standing here a minute ago. What happened? I don't know. What a ridiculous thought, right? I know. We hadn't even been married long enough for us to want to push each other into the water. But, even though I'm joking around with this, that thought did come to my mind in that moment. And I immediately dismissed it. Probably because she had the same thought about me, I'm sure. So hopefully she did control her thought because I'm still here. But I've come to realize that while we can't control the thoughts that come into our mind, we certainly have a say in what we do with those thoughts, how we process those thoughts, what actions we take based on those thoughts. It's been said that you are not your thoughts, and that is true. It's important to remember that a thought itself is harmless unless it conceives sin within us. But in other words, if we believe the thought and act on it, then it will become a part of us. A thought is simply an object of our awareness. Think of it that way. We're not our thoughts, but we are what we think, okay? A thought can be fleeting, but what we think stays with us for a while. So there's a difference there. But you have the power to challenge every thought that enters your mind. You can decide if you want to pay attention to that thought. You can decide if you want to change the thought. You decide if you want to ignore it or whatever. You decide whether or not you want to make that thought a reality. It's up to you. The power is in your hands. And so when negative thoughts enter your mind and begin affecting your attitude, your emotions, I say simply talk back to them. Now, I know that sounds silly, talking back to your thoughts. But your thoughts can have a very powerful effect on your life, not only spiritually, but practically as well. And you can talk back. So, for example, if you take the thought, I always mess up, so I'm going to mess this thing up that I'm about to do. Instead of dwelling on that thought, think, when I focus on doing my best, things tend to turn out well. You see, you just flip it a little bit. You choose. You control your thoughts. And imagine the difference you can make in your life and the positive influence you can have on others if you're just to shift your thoughts like this a little bit. God's word consistently demonstrates the power of our thoughts. But now, the latest science also has revealed that thoughts are very powerful, even able to impact us physically. Now, can you imagine how dangerous it could be to you to entertain negative thoughts if they can impact you physically, if they can impact your physical body? I mean, brain imaging shows clearly that when our minds are burdened with too many negative thoughts, we tend to become irritable, moody, even depressed, okay? And did you know that every thought, I found this out, every thought sends electrical signals throughout your brain? They have substance, right? Physical properties, and they can impact every cell in our body, making us feel good or bad. Have you ever noticed how you feel physically when you're mentally stressed out? It affects your physical body a lot of times. And even though our thoughts are real, a lot of times they're wrong. Our thoughts can lie. If thoughts often support our mental models, and our mental models can be wrong, meaning that, okay, they're unproductive, they no longer serve us well, all right, then some of our thoughts can also be wrong. The lies we sometimes tell ourselves are causing us emotional and physical harm. We're telling it to ourselves, not others. So we must change our thinking. Now, Philippians 4:8, this passage, it illuminates a powerful strategy for our thoughts, right? Many of you know it. It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or worthy of praise, praiseworthy, think about these things, okay? That passage is what inspired me to write my book, Think on These Things, and it basically talks about how to analyze your thought life. In other words, think about what you think about. So I try to lay out a plan to capture those thoughts that you tend to dwell on, you and I tend to dwell on at length, and gain control of them. You see, these thoughts will shape the rest of your life, and the sooner you can follow this path in Philippians 4:8, the better. This guy, Bill Lewis, wrote a fascinating article I read one time called "Everything Begins with Your Thoughts." And in the article, he quotes, from the neck down, we're all worth minimum wage. And from the neck up, we have a multi-million-dollar business. Which one do you feed the most? Man, think about that. Many of us disregard this principle when it comes to our minds and our ways of thinking. We let almost anything get into our brains without considering the ramifications, the consequences of it. Everything we interact with in this life is communicating something to us. All right. We generally don't filter what messages we allow into our brains. And a lot of the messages we're hearing take us further away from God and the success that He brings to us. We need to learn to control our thoughts. Stay sharp at all times, focusing on the positive, because that gives us strength and faith. Focusing on the negative gives us a sense of loss and depression. The positive, it builds us up and those around us. The negative tears down. The positive gives us boldness. The negative brings fear. The positive brings freedom. The negative brings bondage. Eventually, it destroys. So, fortunately, God has given us control. He's given us choice, and He's given us control over fear and bondage by setting a choice in front of us, the choice to control our thoughts. And my goal is for us, right, to get there, to get to the place where we're able to control our thoughts, a new future and a new destiny, right, to positively affect our attitude with our actions based on our thoughts and even how we feel day to day in our body, right? Your body will be impacted once you gain control of your mind and focus on the goodness that God has for you, okay? So take the time to consider how your own thoughts line up with God's perfect will for your thoughts, okay? Then get ready to make some tough but very important changes concerning how you deal with your thought life. Next time, we'll talk a little bit more about the power of your thought life.